Okay, welcome everyone. We do have a sad news announcement to start. Just get this here. Um, Lona was an imaging liaison volunteer at RVH for 30 years, starting in October 1990. Leona McBoyle is the wife of our past Rotarian, Stuart McBoyle. Let's see. Let's see. Lona was an HAAO Provincial Life member, was awarded both the RVH Auxiliaries Outstanding Service Award and Auxiliaries Life Membership in 2006. She would have received her 30 years of service pin this October. Visitation will be held on Sunday, September 27th from 1 to 2:30 at Adams Funeral Home. Please wear a mask while inside the building. Private family service will be held at 3 p.m. Friends are welcome to attend virtually. We will have that information sent out, so you'll have that. Memorial donations to the RVH Auxiliary or a charity of your choice would be appreciated. Messages of condolences may be forwarded through the family, to the family through the Adams Funeral Home. Our deepest condolences are extended to Stuart and her family and the many, many friends, as well as their fellow volunteers. That? Yeah. So to start the meeting, welcome to the weekly meeting of the Rotary Club of Barrie, and a special welcome to our visiting Rotarians and special guests. Things go better when you are here. We will start with O Canada and a toast to the Queen. And a toast to the Queen. Our Beacon editor this week is David Thompson. So if you're making any announcements, please send a note off to him. It's a little easier to keep track of things. And thanks, Dave Mills, for an absolutely awesome, shall I say, smoking hot, awesome Beacon last week. So if you read the Beacon, you would get that little note. So special presentations. We have Todd Armstrong. We have Todd out there.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
So just another update on the auction. It was a pretty good week with 27 new items coming in. So thank you to all the Rotarians that have gone out and got some interesting items. Please keep. Please. Hello.
Todd, speak up. We can't quite hear you.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Is this better?
That's better.
All right. Anyhow, auction update. We got 27 new items in this week. Thanks to all the Rotarians that have been out there digging. We have a total of 86 things auctioned off so far. So please keep up the effort. We're seeing interesting things come in this year. What? Can't hear me? Can you hear me?
It's just kind of in and out there, Todd.
All right, I don't know what to say. Please keep on bringing in new auction items. We're up to 86 now. And so keep up the good effort. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Todd. Yes, I've heard that. It was 86, and I think you said 27 new items came in recently. So perfect. So definitely keep this going. Remember, this is going to be one of our big fundraisers this year. So please, please, please get out there and support. Chris Garapi.
President Deb, how are you?
I'm doing great. Yourself?
Good, thank you. Thank you very much, and thanks for letting me make this an announcement. It's about our golf day. As again, we're gonna, I think, getting close to wrapping it up. I haven't heard from anybody, and probably in about a week. So we booked 30 spots. We have 25 or 24, I believe, signed up or allocated. Again, it's at the Innisbrook Golf Links in South Barrie on Thursday, the 8th. It will follow Rotary. I will send out tee times when I get them from the club. So if you're interested, it's not too late. Just let me know. And I'll probably try to, although I'd said in the memo the 30th would wrap it up, but I think we'll try to wrap it up by Sunday, just so I can give the club the information. Mostly I didn't hear that if you wanted the express barbecue, so I'm going to make an assumption, but I will send you an email that you will want the express barbecue. So it's a fun day. You can play whatever game you want to play. If you want to play best ball amongst yourself, you want to play your own ball, it's whatever. There are no prizes, and it is social distancing, so there will be a beer card or a beverage card throughout the afternoon. And the express barbecue would be at the very end out in the patio, and they'll probably encourage you to stay or take it with you, but there are tables that are socially distanced outside in the patio. So if you want to play, let me know by Sunday. It'd be great if we had a few more groups. And just need, Louise, I need your guest name, if you could just email that to me. So I will email you by the end of next week as to exactly what tee time you are. Thanks, President Deb.
Thank you very much, past President Chris. Jody.
Thanks, President Deb. Just an update for everybody on our, sorry, I'll try to get in the right screen here, on our hike and our art auction gala dinner. The hike is a go. We haven't had any changes with that. We look like we're going to have a nice, sunny, but cool day next Saturday. I'm going to email everybody this weekend. The COVID announcements this previous weekend threw a little curveball at our plans for our art auction gala, and we're unable to host it at my office here now. So we were scrambling, trying to find a location, and Rotarian and good friend Adam Smith, him and I had a couple of drinks yesterday, and he came up with a really neat idea. So it looks like we're going to host the art gallery portion of the night at Hooligans downtown, which does lend itself to walking to the restaurants if you choose. So we're figuring out the details. It's going to change our timing a little bit, but I think it's going to create a bit of a funner event, and it's going to actually allow, which sounds strange to say this, but for more people to be together. And I know that's not what's supposed to be happening, but with his location downtown at Hooligans, I think we'll be able to maximize the fellowship portion of this event. So I was hoping to sell tickets today. We're not there. So we're going to wait a little bit for that. When it goes live, you'll have a chance. It'll still be the same format. You'll sign up for a restaurant at a particular time slot, but we're just tweaking that. So that date again is October 21st, and we've named the 4 restaurants. So all of those details will follow. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Jody. And okay, so I'm going to just jump back a little bit. So again, welcome any visiting guests and Rotarians. Doug, I know you have a guest.
I do, President Deb. My guest is Tanya Seri.
Right. Hello, Tanya. And any other guests visiting Rotarians? Jerry Norman? I don't see him.
I'm not sure if Kevin is a guest, has tuned in. He was going to do an audio visit.
Yes. Hey Jerry, yes, I got back just in time. So hello everyone, Kevin Rumpel here. Just moved to Barrie a couple weeks ago, and thanks for having me here.
Wonderful. Well,
Hi, Kevin.
welcome. Any other visiting?
Thanks.
Okay, caught up on that. So birthdays and anniversaries. One anniversary, Bob and Shelley Greer, September 24th, 37 years. Birthdays, Lauren Blanchette, which is September 24th today. Sue Croft, also September 24th. Lawrence Vindham, September 29th. Craig Walwyn, September 29th. And Bud Gooderham, September 30th. There are no club anniversaries. So in honor of your birthday, please accept the congratulations of the club, and a donation of 5 Polio Plus vaccinations will be made in your honor. And Bob and Shelley, for your anniversary, a contribution towards the fight against COVID-19. And we have a special video for you.
And a 1, and a 2, and a 1, 2, 3, 4. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear. Happy birthday to you. To you.
So big happy birthday going out, and thank you, Jeff, for finding that. They're always enjoyable and certainly brings a smile to a face. SAA Eric. Here, I'll just see if we can turn this around here. Okay,
Thank you, President Deb.
come on up. I
I'll
got
get my mask on now that we're in closer proximity.
Yes.
Okay, I have been trying to find out if my peoples are all here. Thank you, President Deb. Let's do our slides, Jeff. Let's take us to the fines page. Oh, put that one. And one more. Are you sharing? That's it. Okay, good deal.
That's it.
All right, just a reminder of how to pay your fines. We're not seeing that on this screen. And there we are.
All right.
All right, that's a reminder on how to pay your fines. Let's go to the next one. All right, the Mike and Bonnie baby pool is over. It's done. We do have a couple of winners. Is Mike online today, Mike and Bonnie? Mike is online. Good.
I am online, but Bonnie isn't yet. Or she may be.
Well, I got a slide. Why don't I put that up and then you can speak a little bit to it, Mike. This is our baby pool big winner, Mike and Bonnie. Tell us a little bit about who you're introducing here.
This is our wonderful little daughter, Adelaide. She was born on September 20th at 4:04 p.m. And she's doing very well. Bonnie's doing very well. I'm ecstatic. I feel like I'm on top of the world. I don't know what else to say, but it's an amazing feeling.
Congratulations, pretty exciting. The other winner in all of this was Dave Tisch. Now, he was the only guy that actually voted for September 20th. So he's the big winner, and he is now the proud papa of a beautiful bottle of Glenlivet 18-year-old. I'm pretty sure his prize will actually make it easier to sleep at night, unlike Mike and Bonnie's prize. You should know Dave selected the Rotary Club of Barrie Charitable Foundation as his charity to receive his half of the $350 pool. Thank you, Dave, and thank you to Mike and Bonnie for this opportunity to celebrate. President Deb, I think Mike and Bonnie have already done a lot in terms of supporting the club. So probably no big baby announcement.
Oh, yeah.
Fine.
No, I wouldn't find, especially since, you know, Mike actually took the time last night to come over to my house personally to make sure that I knew. So for that, you know, taking those extra steps as a Rotarian, you go above and beyond. Thank you, Mike, for sharing, and congratulations, and looking forward to seeing the little one.
Congrats, Mike.
Thank you.
All right, let's take another slide up there, Jeff. Yeah, no, let's do the three amigos to start. Yeah. Just as a reminder, we had a you know, kind of a big event, a big contest last week. It got a little messy. It got messy enough that we're going to have to come back around and do a little bit of a refresher on Rotary values, because there was a fair bit of cheating going on. Now, what's interesting is that the main players involved in this, I believe all three of the amigos are missing today. We've only got a couple of the team participants, so they're clearly ducking the opportunity to actually be taken to task for the cheating escapades. So I think we're going to come back to that one, but just note that we do have unfinished business on Three Amigos trivia. So we'll come back to that. Thanks, Jeff. Let's go. Yes, let's go to Sue. I think I saw Sue on the call today. Sue, are you there?
I am.
That's great. We've been missing out on Sue. We brought this forward a couple of times that she's been awake, then she's been on when we've been doing other stuff with the live meetings. So Sue, I noticed online that you have a new certification, and I thought that might be kind of fun for you to share with the club.
I was actually planning on doing an announcement, but I didn't want to do it on my birthday. So yes, I have done a retweak during COVID, a bit of a time of being pretty depressed and feeling sorry for myself because I lost all of my corporate training business. And so I had a coaching conversation with myself and told myself to get off my ass and get busy. So I went back to school and I've used a lot of my transferable skills, and I have now become a provincially certified wedding officiant and life celebrant. And just so you know, I've done my due diligence and I have donated a free wedding service to the Rotary auction as a way of celebrating my new certification, and I wanted to give something back to Rotary. So Todd, I hope you did see that submission come into you this week. So I'm very excited. So if you're planning on getting married or doing a renewal of vows, I know a lot of you old farts out there are at the 40-year mark, so maybe you want to do a renewal of vows. Or if you're planning on dying anytime soon, just give me a call, okay?
There we go. That's great. Congratulations, Sue. So let's see. We got a good news announcement. There's some fairly active advertising there as well, wasn't there?
That was a lot of advertising. Plus, she's made us wait. How many weeks have we had this slide?
Well, we're probably maybe 6 weeks, yeah?
Oh, yeah. So that's got to add up.
So what do you think, President Deb? This is your call. You know, a great news announcement, a new certification in the club, a new resource. The donation to the auction is great, but what else do you want to get?
Well, you know, with new Rotary, you know, I think we should be able to do a little bit of networking once in a while and understand each other's new classifications. So, you know, it's a great way to share out good news.
Yeah, that is. But the classification talk is a specific talk. It's not in this frame. So now that was another plug. So I think it's going up here. I think $10.
Ooh, $10, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm actually going to up that. I'm going to donate $50 to foundation.
Terrific. That is a good deal. We'll take that.
Okay, thank you,
Thank you, Sue. That's awesome. Now, is Greg McWatt around today? Yeah, I see him right there. He's right there in the middle of the game. So some squealer out there sent me a picture of a boat, and your name was mentioned. I have no idea what the connection is between you and said. Did you want to introduce said boat to us? It's not a pet pick, but it's something to share.
You know, that well is dry. President Deb and Sergeant at Arms, I think that boat's come up too many times. I think most of the people on this chat are bored talking about it.
Actually, I think that goes back to you owe Kyle a bottle of wine.
Oh.
So, because I believe he rescued you by having a dock there on a very challenging sail, and he was your safe harbor, which qualified him to get a nice bottle of wine from you. And every boater we know has wine on board.
You know, I'm surprised that past Sergeant at Arms Campbell did not show up to face the accusee. But I know Aaron Hessen's here, and he can likely verify that I more than paid back Kyle Campbell for wine over the last week. Aaron?
All right. President Deb, I can absolutely assure you that past President McWatt more than repaid his debt to Kyle Campbell this past week.
It sounds like a snitch.
Yeah, that sounds like a snitch, actually. So I think we should fine Aaron at least $2 for snitching on past President Craig, or past President Greg.
Oh, he's snitching on Kyle, so that's okay. How about
he paid it back? He paid it back in full and more.
How about $10 to his sponsor?
I'm personally rather fond of snitches. I rely on them a lot in my work.
Yeah, that somehow got to be $10, and I'm still on with Aaron. So, you know,
Well,
Aaron, thank you.
In all fairness, President Deb, in all fairness, President Deb, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that my sponsor, past SAA Campbell, was responsible for my fines for the first year.
This is a good point. It's a very good point.
6 months.
Yeah, for 6 months. Yeah.
Well, are we there? I don't think we're there yet.
I don't think we're there yet.
Yeah. Oh, bonus.
Yeah,
So,
that's perfect.
Greg, just remember you get, you know, a bottle of wine, and you know, Kyle's gonna have to cop up the $10 now. That was
great.
profitable.
Very
how that all
profitable.
came
This
around.
all worked.
We might be able to milk this boat, you know, for quite a few of the times.
You know what, President Deb, I'm going to take that back. I'll pay the $10 fine to rent the space on the dock in honor of Kyle Campbell.
Seems reasonable.
That's great. Thank you.
Thanks, gang. Do we have past District Governor Jim Williams with us? You want to unmute, Jim?
Yes, I'm here.
You're on. President Deb was telling me you had a good news announcement and an idea to share.
Well, I do have a good news announcement. My daughter Amy got engaged a couple of weeks ago. She kept it in the Rotary family, and she's engaged to Daley Biles, who is the grandson of past President Ken Biles. So that is my good news announcement.
That's pretty good news. That's excellent. And what do you want to do about that good news, Jim?
Well, I thought that I would want to forego the fine, so I have a suggestion for President Deb, and then she can see what she can do with it. So I know that Polio Plus is a focus of President Deb's year this year. You can see her handing out the certificates at every meeting. It's the reason that I originally joined Rotary, and you're probably aware that the Rotary District has got a program out now where they're asking every Rotarian to donate $5 to Polio Plus. So what I'm prepared to do is I'll donate $5 for every member in our club, on the condition that President Deb can get the club to go ahead and match that. And then our charitable foundation could match the club's portion. And all of that will then get matched by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation on a 2-to-1 basis. So by everybody putting in a little bit, we'll end up with probably over $5,000 going to Polio Plus. And so that's my offer to President Deb, if she can put this together.
Yeah, we are working on putting that together. I love the idea. I love the initiative. And yeah, certainly we've got Polio Plus coming up, supporting the district, supporting polio, and great representation from our club. I can't wait until the wedding actually happens, because if this is what you're doing for the announcement of getting married, can you imagine what the announcement's going to be when the wedding actually happens?
It's going to be good.
Well, but you have to remember, I'm really, really counting on COVID still being here next year, and we'll have a wedding with about 10 people.
Okay.
There we go. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
That's my gamble.
Dave Porter just reminded us it's October 24th is World Polio Day, so we've got time to work with the board, the club, and the club foundation to see what we can make of that match. So that's terrific. Thanks for the challenge, Joe.
So another quick suggestion for the walk that President Jody is planning, he might want to rename that as a walk for polio.
Oh.
Under advisement, Jody?
I think that would be a fantastic naming opportunity for you, Jim. How about $250 for Baytown Hyundai to be the title sponsor of our Polio Plus walk in Algonquin Park?
You'd have to add to that name, the Baytown Hyundai Walk for Polio Plus.
Then that sounds like a deal. So are you putting $250 for it on that?
If you'll do that, sure, I'll do that. Yep, you're on.
Okay, I'll carry a banner for 9.5 kilometers with your name.
As long as the money goes to Polio Plus and doesn't go to your booze bill.
The $250 wouldn't be enough for the booze bill, so I'm not even going to try it.
Well, that was my concern.
You send your money to Eric and it'll all go where it belongs.
Okay.
Well done. Thank you, President, or past President Jim.
You're welcome.
That's great, Bob. Thank you, folks. That's really, really good. Let me just ask a question. Is Rob Galloway on today? Rob, are you out there? There he is. All right. Rob, you can unmute, and we're going to share a screen here. Do you want to introduce us to this fella?
Sure. She's right here, and she's cuter, but mini terrorist. She is the ruiner of homes, the ruiner of furniture, but don't let her cute eyes deceive you. Her name's Ruffles, like the chips.
Nice.
Yeah.
Ruffles the pug. Welcome, and thanks for the pet pick on that one.
Thank you.
Those are the bulk. We when I was talking with President Deb and Steve this morning, and we did talk about showing a gratitude clip from RVH. I haven't really got that set up, but Jeff, can I share my screen? Let me try this. We'll just see if this will work. Just gotta find you. I'm going to share content. Only the host can share in this. Oh, you should be able to share now. All right, share the screen. Any chance that's sharing? No?
Yeah, we getting it there. Okay, we're working hard here. Technology is interesting, and if you go back and want to re-watch this, Jeff will have sliced out this couple of seconds that we're taking, and it will flow right smooth. So don't let that hold you back from, re-watching this on YouTube.
100%. So I'm going to try sharing the screen. And I'll try to do that. And nope, I'm failing on that one.
Okay, we'll have to try that.
We'll take a break from that. We may work with Jeff offline before the end of the meeting.
Okay, so we may swing that back around a bit later. So moving forward, we have for this week's program and Shona Welsh from, oops, I can take this off too. Shona Welsh from Ovation Public Speaking will be presenting about public speaking today. To introduce her is, I believe, Baz.
Yes, President Debbie, thank you. It's my pleasure to introduce our speaker for today. As you said, she's a partner in Ovation. Her name is Shona Welsh. She competed in the world semifinals of public speaking twice, placing second. And she's gone on to design and deliver thousands of keynote speeches and workshops since then in public speaking, leadership, and communications. She's also trained in stand-up comedy at Second City in Toronto. And today she will be sharing with us 3 key concepts that will help us power up our presentations. Please welcome Shona Welsh. Thank you, Shona, for coming here.
Thank you, Baz. I don't know if you guys can all see my screen. I'm screen sharing right now. Jeff, can you make that happen?
Yeah, we can see.
You can see the PowerPoint and not me? Perfect. Okay, well, thanks everybody. Welcome to Power Up Your Presentations. I wanted to talk about 3 key skills that you can use to power up your presentation. So even if you're already a great presenter, I'm hoping this will help take you to the next level. So my screen sharing's not working. I can't advance my screen. Oh, there we go. So together with my partner, Jan Bailey, we are here in Barrie, Ovation experts in speaker training, but we are thrilled to travel the world to train all kinds of people on public speaking. So before we get into 3 tips I'm going to talk about today, I want to talk about the 3 things that always make up an effective presentation, and they are these: credibility, logic, and emotion. And so as you're sitting at your desk and you're thinking about these 3 things, ask yourself, out of 100%, which one of these has the most impact? And thinking about percentages you would assign, because a lot of times when we're doing presentations, we start with credibility. Well, I'm an expert on X. Baz just introduced me as, having had that experience as a public speaker. When my kids were little, I would go to parenting workshops. I want to know that the expert had some credibility and had some experience. But interestingly, it's only about 10% of the effectiveness of your message is the credibility. The second part is, of course, logic. We want facts, we want stats, we want research, we want to be able to understand where you're coming from. If you're presenting a business case at work, logic is going to be important. But interestingly, the percentage that logic is effective in actually changing people's minds or convincing them to accept your point of view is only about 25% of your message. And you guessed it, the rest is emotion, 65%. Now, I work with a lot of technical people, and they'll say to me, I don't make my decisions emotionally, but everybody does. So I'm sure Baz has shared some things about brain science with you in the past, but yeah, we all make decisions emotionally first, and in a nanosecond it shifts to the front of our brain where it's the logic center. So even though it doesn't seem like you're making decisions emotionally, you actually are, and then you fill in all the blanks to justify your decision. So keep that in mind as we go through the 3 top speaking tips around powering up your presentations today, and then I'll come back to this at the end. So we are going to talk about 3 things, something we call the new ropes phenomena. I'll explain what that means. Secondly, putting your worst foot forward as opposed to your best foot forward. Now, this applies to special situations, and again, I'll explain what those are. And then finally, something we call the 1,000 words approach. As you can imagine, a picture is worth 1,000 words, so I'll explain that as well. But before we get into those 3 things, I have got some bad news for you. And it dates back to 2013 and a research project that Microsoft did with goldfish. Why is that bad news for you? Well, hang on for a second. What Microsoft did was they did experiments on goldfish. You can look it up, you can Google it. Yes, they had the little electrodes on a goldfish, and they were able to determine that a goldfish can pay attention for approximately 9 seconds. Okay, what does that have to do with us, and why is it bad news? Well, here's the bad news. Human beings can pay attention for about 8 seconds. So yeah, our attention span is worse than a goldfish. It's, you know, it's not really good, good ego booster. Why am I telling you that? I'm telling you that because it's the internet and social media that's done this to our attention spans. We're used to getting this little dopamine hit in our brain, checking email, checking text, and that's why our attention span has gotten so small. If you want to really scare yourself, read a book called The Shallows by Nicholas Carr, C-A-R-R. And you will see all the science behind why our brains can't pay attention anymore. If you are my vintage, you'll remember back in the 70s, if you saw news clips on television, they'd be like 30 seconds to 1 minute. Yeah, you're lucky if you get 10 seconds now. And usually it's quite a bit shorter than that. That's why. Why am I telling you this? Because if you want to bring people into your presentation, you want to get their attention immediately, you got to do it in about 8 seconds. So I wanted to get into it right away so that I could do it quickly. Now, if you've got a long presentation, like say an hour, obviously you can't keep their attention longer than 8 seconds all the time. People will they'll go out, they'll come back in again. But chunk your presentation so you've always got something interesting about every kind of 3 minutes or so, and it'll rewire people's brain and get them re-engaged. This is the world we live in now. We've all been living with Zoom fatigue for the last 6 months, and there's a really good reason for that. We can't see people's body language as well on a screen, and so again, our attention wanders. So keep that 8 seconds in mind. All right, so let's start with the first power up your presentation tip, something that Jan and I call in Ovation, the new ropes phenomena. Now, what do we mean by that? We mean that, you know, whatever you're doing to promote your product, your service, your business, you will have like a whole advertising campaign and things that people get used to what you're doing. But if you want to shake it up a little bit and get their attention, especially in the days of COVID when, you know, we want to stick out a little bit more and we got to do it online, think about how can you tell the story a little bit differently. Here's a cute little quote for you. Learning is you suddenly understand something you've understood all your life, but in a new way. Let me give you an example. Famous Canadian producer-director James Cameron, the Titanic, Avatar. Well, just like every other producer in Hollywood, no matter how famous he is, he's still got to pitch to investors to fund his movies. So as many of you may know, he loved the history of the Titanic. He financed going down and exploring the wreck of the Titanic himself. And he was wanting to pitch to the Hollywood studios to, of course, make another movie on the Titanic. It's been done to death. You know, over the last 100 years, there have been movies, there have been documentaries. Everybody knows the story. How do you make this different? How do you convince the studio to actually entertain funding yet another movie about the Titanic? Well, he conceived of it this way. He went in and he pitched them on this concept. It's going to be Romeo and Juliet, but on a ship. And we'll throw in a disaster just for fun. So that's how he convinced them that, you know, he was going to focus on the characters Rose and Jack. He was going to make it a romance, the classic Romeo and Juliet reworked on a ship. And of course, the rest is history. They bought it. So explaining what you do in a new way, in a way you've never done before, in a way people can learn something new about you, is a way to think differently. Now, you can do this with your staff. It always feels a little bit risky, like being on this roller coaster to try something new. But if you think about it, in your next staff meeting, have everybody do like a 15-minute brainstorm. How can we view our product or our service from a new point of view? And just before I came on, I think we had someone from Baytown Hyundai. Big client of yours, I own a Hyundai. I want to see this next time I come in. What are you doing in your product or your service differently that tells a different story? That's my challenge to you. I'm coming in soon for my winter tires. So that's one thing you can do with your staff. Now, related to this is something we called the flipped question. This will help you think a little bit more about how you craft your product or your service in a slightly different way that teaches people something slightly different. Now, the usual question we ask ourselves when we're putting together a presentation is, what do I want to tell my audience? You know, what's the stuff I want to get across? What do I want to make sure they know about my product, my service? Well, I'm going to suggest to you that a more powerful question to start with, and one that will totally up the effectiveness of your presentations, your sales pitches, whatever it is this question. We're flipping it a little bit. What does my audience want to know from me? Now, if you compare the two questions, they're only really slightly different, but the second question completely reframes what you do. Now, I do this with leaders all the time, and they say to me, yeah, got it, I got it. We do this all the time. And then I'll make them do their speech for me, but I'll switch audiences. I'll say, okay, now you're talking to a teenager. Okay, now you're talking to a religious leader. Okay, now you're talking to a group of 4-year-olds. And I have them develop this ability to shift their message based on what the audience wants to know from them. So for example, if you're talking about how the internet has changed our lives to a group of parents, they're going to have a very different set of expectations about what they want to know from you versus a group of teenagers, for example. So this flipped question, even though it's easy to understand, I can guarantee you it's not so easy to do when you're in the situation. We do tend to revert to, what do I want to tell my audience? So this question alone is going to change how you craft your presentations about your products and your services. All right, so moving on to our second point, empowering up your presentation, and what we call putting your worst forward. I don't know, I think smushing around in the mud like this might actually be fun. But let me tell you what we mean by that. This is a special situation. Sometimes we're talking to audiences that we know are going to be hostile, and we know are skeptical, either or, maybe both. And a typical example of this is when we're looking for, additional investment in our company, et cetera. We go in expecting that the audience is going to be poking holes in what it is we're saying to them. Let's talk about how, in those situations with a hostile or skeptical audience, you can actually be more effective. I'm going to start with an example from British Rail. Now, British Rail no longer exists. It was all privatized. But way back in the 80s, when British Rail was, the biggest service provider of rail services in the UK, they weren't very popular. They didn't have a good reputation, and they decided that they wanted to hire an advertising company that would, present this whole new campaign to the British public and have them feel better about availing themselves of British Rail versus Virgin Rail, those kinds of things. And they put out a call for proposals, and they ended up with 3 people they wanted to hear from. Now, 2 were big advertisers that everybody knows in the UK, and one was kind of an upstart company that was going to be a long shot that they got this contract. But British Rail thought, okay, well, interesting things they presented. Now, usually when you're pitching to a client and you're an advertising firm, you go to the client, right? You go to their offices. But this upstart advertising company phoned British Rail and said, we'd like to propose something different. We would like you to come to us because we've got something special planned for you. And they said, okay, well, we picked you because you're different. So the day of the presentation arrives and the British Rail executives go to the advertising company's reception area, and they check in with the receptionist. She says, yep, have a seat. The leaders will be out in a few minutes. And as they sit down, they start to look around, and they realize that the reception area is filthy. It's filthy. There's piles of dirt in the corner. There's smushed up coffee cups, sandwich wrappers that are still dirty. The receptionist had papers strewn all over her desk. Really not a good first impression. So the 2 of them are sitting there thinking, wow, this is not a really good company. I don't know, maybe we should rethink, hiring them. So 15 minutes goes by, and they're starting to get a little irate because they've been kept waiting, we at British Rail, for 15 minutes. And they go to the receptionist and they're saying, look, we've been waiting this. She's like, yes, they'll be out in a minute. Well, half an hour later, I personally don't know if I would have had the guts to wait this long. Half an hour later, they're about ready to leave. They're so upset. The advertising executives came out and they said, look, we're terribly sorry we're late. We wanted to give you the experience that most British Rail customers complain about when they're using your trains. Things don't run on time. They're often half an hour late. The train stations are disgusting and filthy. Long story short, it's a big chance to take, but they ended up getting the contract for the new advertising campaign for British Rail, which they then launched for about 2 or 3 years and was very successful. If you want to read more about this, I will recommend Terry O'Reilly's book to you. You may know him from CBC fame. Under the Influence is the name of his show. And this is a great book, This I Know, where he talks about this example. So that's one example of starting with a negative. But I want to give you one that's even more direct in terms of putting your worst foot forward. Now, this is a story about a company that doesn't exist anymore either. You know, things change a lot in the digital world. It was a company called Babbel. And Babbel was formed by a couple who were working professionals in the entertainment industry in California. And they had a baby, and this was in the 80s, and they were looking for a lot of online resources about what it's like to be a new parent, being an older parent, all that kind of stuff. Long story short, they ended up building quite a great online following at the site Babbel, like hundreds of thousands of people. And they now needed an influx of about $3 million from venture capitalists, from investors, and they got a pitch meeting and they're ready to make their pitch. Now, here's what happens often with a group of investors. They know you're trying to sell them, so they come in and they're skeptical. Sometimes they might be hostile, but let's go with skeptical. Now, what the owners of Babbel did is they began their presentation with everything that's wrong with Babbel. They didn't start off with, here's what I want to tell you, how wonderful Babbel is, what our sales revenues are, what our profits are. They didn't start with any of the good stuff. They started with all of the bad stuff. And without going into the science of it, when you've got a skeptical or a hostile audience, starting with the bad stuff is actually more effective. Here's why. First of all, it immediately disarms your audience. They're expecting to get a sales pitch and all the sunshine about your company. And all of a sudden you're going, yeah, here's what all our problems are. So they're like, oh, wait a minute, this is not what I expected. So right away, you've got them disarmed. Secondly, it shifts their brain from being in self-defense, don't try to snow me with all the wonderful things about your company, into problem solving. They start thinking, and they all did comment on this, now that I know what the problems are, as a successful business person myself, I'm starting to think about how I could help solve that problem. It creates confidence in you as a presenter. You're just not blowing sunshine. You are actually creating confidence that you're okay with talking about your company, warts and all. You look wise and insightful. The audience feels like they can trust you. Again, you're not going to be blowing sunshine. And finally, they ultimately, it's been shown in studies, develop a more favorable assessment of your product or service because you told them the bad news right away. Now, again, I don't recommend this for every audience, but if you've got a skeptical or a hostile audience, it actually works. This has worked for me when I've been pitching to potential clients who are pretty skeptical about what public speaking can do to transform their communications. Sometimes we talk about all the problems that you're going to encounter, and it works. So if you want to, again, read more about this, I invite you to read Adam Grant's book, The Originals, and he talks about all the psychology and the science behind this. So that's the second way to power up a presentation with a skeptical audience. Now here's a little exercise you can do with your staff on that too. Now I love this picture on the cake because the problem here is that whoever was making this sign for Nancy on her cake was given instructions, please write Nancy in caps. So all that should appear on this little piece of chocolate is Nancy in capital letters. So there was definitely a disconnect with what was going on there. So I guess one of their challenges is making sure the people who are, doing the messages understand the instructions. So what you can do with your staff is make a list of all the downfalls and all the issues and all the problems that they might run into and your clients might run into with your product or your service. Because if you can think about what those things are, you can anticipate them and you can actually deal with them. There's a famous exercise in innovation circles called Kill the Company. And again, you can read about it in Adam Grant's book if you want more information. But basically, you get a bunch of people in a room from your company and you talk about all the things that are weaknesses about your product and your service, the things that your competitors could really, really grab some market share from you on because you're maybe not addressing that need, or maybe you're not addressing that need well. So it's a way to think about all the downfalls of your product or service, and then thinking about how you can actually deal with that, and how you can address it. So there's an exercise you can do with your staff. Okay, and the third tip to power up your presentation is what we call the 1,000 words approach, as in a picture is worth 1,000 words. Now, advertisers have known this forever, that if you want to really appeal to the emotion, that's 65% of the effectiveness of your message. More than credibility and logic, powerful visuals will really bring out people's emotions. So I'm going to show you a few visuals, our favorite advertising campaigns that are pretty effective. Now, this is a stop smoking campaign. Now, you can read the fine print, you can look that it's a Nicorette gum, all that kind of stuff. Doesn't matter, right? You already got the message because you are seeing this, a lovely 42-year-old woman lighting up a cigarette from her candles. So in other words, pictures, visuals are always going to be more powerful because they do elicit emotion much more readily than words do. Let's take a look at one of our other favorites. I don't know if everybody can read that, but it says on the side of this garbage bin for the homeless, every day is a struggle. Got a knife and a fork on either side of a garbage bin. Again, you don't really have to explain anything about this. It's very telegraphic. So what visuals can you use in your company that get across what it is you're trying to say you're after, whether it's nonprofit, whether it's for profit? What's going to grab people by their emotion? The next one's my favorite one, and I think it's the most powerful. One child is holding something that's been banned in America to protect them. Guess which one? Now, the little boy on the left is holding a Kinder Surprise, you know, those little tiny toys you get inside a chocolate egg. And then the little girl on the right is holding an automatic weapon. So it's the little boy on the left, it's Kinder Surprise, that is actually banned in the United States because we don't want children choking to death on small little toys. But in fact, we all know about the stories of automatic weapons and school shootings, etc. Again, you don't actually need to read the bottom. It's called Moms Demand Action is the organization, and it's about gun control and stopping school shootings in the US. But I think you'll agree it's incredibly powerful, and the emotion of this one just jumps right at you. So whether you're doing a presentation or whether you're thinking about your advertising campaigns, 1,000 words, pictures get that emotional impact, that 65% impact across much better than any words you can. Now, I'm going to take you back to our 8-second goldfish, or 9-second goldfish, I guess, for a second, and talk about something that we call visual anchors. You're not always going to have a chance to show people visuals like I just did. Maybe your AV has shut down, maybe you're talking face-to-face, etc. So one of the things we've developed is something called a visual anchor, where people will visualize something and remember it long after they've spoken to you or seen your presentation. So when we give presentations to leaders about, you know, how to keep people's attention, etc., when you're doing presentations, we talk about the goldfish research, and we give out those little packages, cheesy goldfish crackers that you can get in Walmart. I always go to Walmart and buy a gross of them when we're doing this presentation, and we give it out to the entire room. That is a visual anchor. You've given them something tactile to go along with the visual. And I swear to you, 5 years later, I'll run into someone on the street and they'll go, I still remember that whole goldfish thing. It was a visual anchor. I do another one with chocolate chip cookies. Doesn't really matter right now, but it was about an experiment done with chocolate chip cookies. It talks about how bad leadership behavior shows up. And I give out chocolate chip cookies to the leaders to make the point. They never forget this. So they always say to me, great, now you've ruined chocolate chip cookies for me forever, because they can't see a chocolate chip cookie or a goldfish cracker without remembering the point. So that's how you can use visual anchors. So think about it this way. Here's another exercise you can do with your staff. What is a memorable visual anchor for your product or service that you could actually give to people? And I'm not talking about the usual swag. I'm not talking about keychains. I'm not talking about mugs or water bottles or shirts or anything like that. Be creative. Go a little nuts with it. What's a visual anchor like the goldfish or the chocolate chip cookie that you could use in your presentation that's going to help people remember you and your product or service. Now, if you don't really believe that visuals are so powerful in helping us remember presentations, usually if I had you in a room, I'd ask you to tell me this, and I've done it a million times and it works every time. I just show the pictures that I showed and you tell me what the point was, but I'll just do it today because we can't do it on Zoom. So this was the first picture you saw in the presentation today, and this was about the 3 elements of communicating: credibility, 10%, logic, 25%, emotion, 65%, and visuals are a good way to elicit emotion. We talked about the goldfish having an average attention span of 9 seconds and humans having an average attention span of 8. We're in trouble. We got to grab people quickly. New ropes phenomena. If you can present your service or your product in a new way, in a different way, Romeo and Juliet on a ship, then you've got ways to reach more people who are interested in your product or service. Putting your worst foot forward. We got a skeptical or a hostile audience. If you start with the bad news first, you disarm them, they think you're trustworthy and they're ready to listen. By the way, Babbel did get the $3 million from those venture capitalists, and 3 years later, Disney bought them out for $40 million. And then the 1,000 words approach, that pictures can elicit that emotion and send a powerful message really, really quickly, really, really effectively. And finally, what kind of visual anchors can you use that'll remind people of your product or service? Goldfish crackers, chocolate chip cookies, whatever it is. One last thought, I know my time's just about up. Remember always to marry emotion with logic. It's not enough to have all the facts and all the stats. You got to grab people. Storytelling is a good way to do it. 1,000 words, all these things will work for you. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you very much. Now, we do have a couple of minutes for questions. Do we have any questions? Take a look there. Oh, Shona, can you stop your screen sharing?
I'm just going to do that. Yeah.
President Debbie, it's Sue Croft.
Wonderful. Sue, you have a question?
I'm just curious to know, have you done any work around research with neuro-linguistic programming in terms of highlighting the verbiage that's used in your presentations or in your training?
Yeah, we've done a fair bit of work on that, and that's a whole other presentation, but we talk about how you use sensory words to create those experiences for people, paint those word pictures. Like one really quick example is we work with a lot of technical people that talk about a lot of stats and bar charts and pie graph, blah, blah, blah. And we're trying to take it to the next level. And so we encourage them to, instead of showing those charts and stats, to give a visual picture. Here's an example. So every day, 441,000 disposable coffee cups are thrown into recycling, landfill, et cetera, across the United States. It's a US figure. So instead of telling people that stat, paint a visual picture. 441,000 disposable cups laid end to end would stretch from Los Angeles to New York. That's how many cups we're throwing away every day. So it's sort of linked to a little bit of NLP, but you paint a visual picture with it. Yeah, so we did do some work in that area as well. Thanks for the question.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. And I'm sure I don't see any other questions coming in, but I'm sure there will be lots and quite a bit of discussions, and we'll likely reference a few of those pictures through FAA and a few future meetings. So everyone that's here today will be in the know on those pictures.
Perfect. And Jeff's got a copy of the PowerPoint if anybody wants it. Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you. And Arlette. Oh, you're mute.
Thank you, Sarah, for your comment. Sorry, Arlette.
That's okay. Shona, first off, I think 8 seconds might be a bit of a stretch for most of our members, but you made your point. You've given us some great ideas, lots to think about, and some great references. As Rotarians, most of us are in business or as Rotarians, we do give a lot of presentations. And I think back to, you know, the advice that I was given years ago when I joined Rotary, and it was just think of everybody sitting there in their underwear. And now with Zoom, I think probably a lot are. As a matter of fact, when we stand up for O Canada, I'm always a little concerned about what we're going to see. But anyway, thank you very much again for your presentation. We've learned a lot, and I'm sure that we will be using some of your suggestions.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you, and thank you on behalf of the Rotary Club of Barrie. We have a certificate of appreciation for coming and taking the time to speak with us today. As you may have picked up, polio is integral to both our club and to Rotary International. And with Rotary being this close to ending polio, we have made a donation of 10 polio plus vaccinations in your name, as well as Rotary's polio resource centers are helping the fight against COVID-19 by supporting preparation and response activities in many countries. So a contribution to the fight against COVID-19 efforts have also been made in your name. So thank you very much again for coming in.
Thank you very much.
And you're welcome to come and join us anytime.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. Well, we have, now we have President Deb's Stronger Together, Together Inspired Moment. So September 30th is the 40th anniversary of Terry Fox. So Terry Fox actually created the world's largest one-day fundraiser. In 1980, he began the Marathon of Hope, a cross-country run to raise money for cancer research. He hoped to raise $1 from each of Canada's 24 million people. With one leg having been amputated due to cancer, he embarked on an east to west cross-country Canada run to raise money for cancer research. He didn't do this alone. He had a team around him. And what he found as he went through, he also had a team as he came across Canada, because every location along the highway, everybody was cheering him on and there to be there with him. So definitely an inspiring moment I will never forget, watching him run by with a peculiar gait, and as on the side of Highway 11, right at Weber's. So I always remember that moment when I saw him. And I'm sure many of you will also share that particular moment when you also shared and saw him. So Terry Fox Run has grown to involve millions of participants in over 60 countries and is now, as I said, the world's largest one-day fundraiser. And right now, there over $800 million has been raised. So definitely a remarkable, inspiring moment and something that the world together has done. So now we are going to play that video after the meeting. So if you want to hang on after the meeting and watch, that would be great. But for now, if there's no other business for the good of Rotary, I declare this meeting adjourned, and thank you everyone for your patience with our technology.
Hey, Bob.
Bye all.
Yeah, we're just queuing up the video. Still queuing.
Good morning, and thank you for virtually joining us as we kick off RVH's Day of Gratitude. I'm Janice Scott, always proud to introduce myself as the President and CEO of the Royal Victoria Regional Health Centre. And I'm grateful to be joined by Charlotte Wallace, RVH's Board Chair, as well as Doug Moody, RVH's Foundation Board Chair. And remotely, Dr. Chris Martin, Chief Critical Care, Medical Director, Intensive Care Unit, and Medical Director of Education. Of course, Dr. Martin is hard at work in the intensive care unit, or ICU as we call it, but he still wanted to join our chat today to share his appreciation for patient care and the support you give him. We'll hear more from Dr. Martin shortly. While I wish we could be greeting you in person today, catching up on the past year as we usually do, for your safety and for the safety of our community, this virtual greeting will just have to do. So please grab a coffee or a tea. We all have ours with us. Cheers, Charlotte and Doug. And spend a little time with us as we kick off RVH's Day of Gratitude. Once again, thank you for taking some time to tune into our short web chat. We think of this as a coffee break and a way we can connect with you, our loyal donors. Today, not only will we be sharing health center updates, it's our way of saying thank you to all of you, our donors, volunteers, and our community for all the support over the past year. Pausing to say thank you is important. I know we can all think of a time when hearing a sincere thank you made us feel truly appreciated. That is exactly what we want to do today. We want you to know how much we appreciate you. In these last few months, we have all been impacted by the pandemic, and we've seen how community comes together to help. It's important to reflect on what we are grateful for, especially during these challenging times. The team at RVH is no stranger to crisis and healthcare emergencies. It is difficult to plan for all eventualities, but I could not be more proud of how everyone at RVH rose to the challenge posed by COVID-19. As always, RVH's first priority is the safety of our patients, staff, physicians, and volunteers. When the pandemic was declared, we could not predict the extent to which our community would be impacted with cases. Our team quickly came together, prepared for the worst case scenarios, and partnered with first responders and all levels of government on coordinated plans. I am so grateful to Team RVH. Special thanks to our caregivers who put patients first. And thanks to everyone on Team RVH who worked so diligently to support our frontline staff. I am thankful to be part of such a great team. On behalf of Team RVH, I would also like to take a moment to recognize everyone throughout the region for doing their part to stop the spread and flatten the curve. As our healthcare teams know, each of us is the first line of defense against preventing the spread of COVID by wearing your mask and, of course, washing your hands frequently. At RVH, we may hope for the best, but we plan for the worst. Know we continue to stand ready, not knowing fully what the fall will bring. The increased intensive care unit, or ICU beds, and equipment are here if needed. Pre-pandemic, we had 15 ICU beds and now have planned capacity for 105 intensive care unit beds. This is truly extraordinary. Thanks to your support, this enhanced capacity stands ready if needed. Speaking of increasing our capacity, not knowing what is still before us as restrictions lift, we recently constructed a 70-bed regional pandemic response unit. It's our insurance policy, a regional asset that stands ready in case it is needed to help with any capacity challenges across Simcoe and Muskoka. We could not have moved so decisively in expanding spaces and investing in equipment if not for our community. Whenever RVH and our patients are in need, our community rises in support. In fact, RVH has received more than $500,000 in individual, group, and business donations to support COVID preparations and to recognize and support Team RVH during these very, very challenging months. Simply and sincerely, thank you. Charlotte, as the volunteer.
I hope you enjoyed that. It does go on for another 10 minutes or so. We've sent a link if you do want to watch it. It is pretty interesting. I understand there's going to be a few other videos coming through.
Yeah, watch your social media if you're on, if you follow RVH or RVH Foundation. You know, all of you as Rotarians are great supporters, and there's some good updates in there for you.